Since the book came out, life has gone from 0 to 100. Prior to the book, we were healing as a family. My husband, Bob, who was injured in Iraq, was healing. So we led a very quiet life. We had not talked to anybody publicly about the journey we'd gone on. In telling our story in the book, in an instant, I felt like we were shedding light on a journey that so many families are going through. And that made it okay to be so personal. I always say to people, you have two choices when something bad happens. You can go to ground, as the Marines say. There's a little military phrase for you there. And there's nothing wrong with going to ground. Going to ground means just taking what you've learned and what you've done and just going back to your quiet life. Or you can take it and do something with it. And I think because Bob was a public figure and because this injury got so much attention, we really felt strongly that it was incumbent on us to take the 15 minutes of Warhol fame that we had and do something bigger with it. Not only for ourselves and for the people that weren't as fortunate, but for our kids. Because in the lesson of the tragedy was a lesson for them about the ability to do good for other people and the ability to take a bad situation and make something positive out of it. I think the journey that we took wasn't one that we'd sketched out at all. I think a lot of it sort of happened naturally. We'd written the book together. When the book first came out, we were a team. We were on the road as a team. We were going on the air as a team. And we knew as a family, and by that I include Bob's brothers and my sisters, trying to create an organization, the Bob Woodruff Family Foundation, to help the wounded vets. That was an evolution, too, because we realized that there was not one organization out there that was helping all of the wounded vets in the different branches. So everything kind of took shape as we went along. And it was clear that Bob was going to go back to his job. It was clear that he was a reporter at heart and had all the abilities to still report. And so he was moving out into the public eye and talking about his journey. And it seemed like a natural evolution as his caregiver for me to do that as well. But it definitely wasn't anything we conceived of. I think it's like a lot of things in life, like your career or your job or where you're going to go. You don't ever script it out. In fact, the most interesting things in your life come when you're not planning them. And this was one of those moments for us. Nobody knows what stuff they're made of until they're tested. And God forbid that you're tested. And the human spirit is made of such stronger stuff than you can ever imagine. There's a phrase that I quote a lot from Bishop Desmond Tutu, and he says, "I'm sorry to say that suffering is just simply part and parcel of the human condition. It's how you choose to treat that suffering. Do you let it embitter you or ennoble you?" And I think there's no one among us who wants to sort of be a bitter old lady about life. And so when bad things happen and when choices freeze you, first of all, let yourself grieve. Let yourself feel it. That's part of the natural process. So when you're down, if you're down, sad, crying, let all of those emotions roll through you. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to pick yourself up and move forward and get to the take action part, which is sort of the next part, which is, okay, bad things happen. And how am I going to respond to this? I almost felt like, yeah, I'd like to do a little Valley of the Dolls some days and check out with my Ambien in bed. But I have 4 children, so how can I possibly do that? And what I can do best for them is model an example of someone who has been through adversity but has got to put those feet on the floor every day. The best piece of advice I got was from a woman who said, don't live day by day, live hour by hour. And so I used to literally look at my watch on the bad days and say, okay, I made it from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. I'm doing okay today. And some days that's what got me through. I think tragedy can be a huge catalyst for reinventing yourself. And I think that if you look at it that way, and if you take it as a challenge, and you take it as something that strengthens you and that doesn't tear you down, then I think that you've probably figured out one of the great secrets of life. You are watching Women for Hire TV. That makes you a very smart woman.